assessment of the performance against Fresno?
Well, it was great to get out with the win. Saw a lot of good things. Really pleased with the effort. Saw a lot of guys chasing the football. Was really happy with the rotation we were able to go with up front with the defensive line. I think that paid off. It's nice to see waves of guys go out there at one time and get productive play out of them. And I thought the back seven at times worked well together, and at times that's an area we need to continue to improve in.
What did you think of EA Naoteote?
EA was a little bit overzealous at times and missed a few tackles. I think he's getting a feel for playing the position he's in now full time, to where he's covered up a lot more, and he really could just focus on key and diagnosing the run and pass. But he had great effort, made some nice tackles, missed some tackles he'd like to have back that I know he'll get cleaned up and do a better job next time.
For a guy that's as aggressive as him, what can you say to him that can sort of help him figure out when to, be?
I think it's just repetition. He's got to get out there and get a feel for the game and get loosened up and get a feel for the offensive line and the speed of the back, and because he is a real quick key and diagnose guy. So I think backing him up a little bit, backing him off the ball a little more, so he can kind of wait a minute and let things key and diagnose in front of him, might help him a little bit.
What are some things that stood out to you about Stanford on film?
They mix a lot of different personnel groups. They do a really nice job of playing situational football, and you got to be very impressed with their Scarlett running back. I think he's a really good player. He's very patient, and then their downfield passing game is always hard to deal with.
What about Davis Mills? Any impression from him yet?
No, just he's got a lot of accolades coming out. Saw some tape on him. He's obviously got a lot of things you like in his position.
Do you watch any old tape of him? You have a lot of college tape.
Well, we had a lot of time this week, so we spent a lot of time watching film.
Okay. Older film of him, even.
Well, it's been a long week.
Okay.
You've seen enough of him, it sounds like.
Well, he's whoever plays, we had to go out and run our calls, execute what we think is good for us to go out and do on Saturday night.
In saying that you want to run your plays, do you, Stanford coming in, do you kind of adjust anything according to what they do, their downfield passing that you mentioned earlier?
Well, they're gonna mix a lot of different personnel groups, and so it forces you to do a lot of different things from a matchup standpoint. So it'll be a little bit different preparation than what we had for our opener against Fresno, where they were not returning many people, and you were kind of unsure about what they were going to do offensively based on the people that they had, and you really just basing things a lot off of their staff and what they've done in the past. So there was some adjusting on the fly with them.
How do you feel Davis is most different from KJ?
KJ's stats are incredible. He's a very high percentage passer. He's very good in command of that offense. Coach Shaw gives him a lot of latitude within the offense, so he just has a lot more experience within it in game type situations live.
How does Fresno get 462 yards on you guys when you look back at it?
Well, I think when you look at the running game, the quarterback had 56 on scrambles. He had 44 on the zone read, with 13 being the longest. And they had 27 yards on a reverse. And they had probably anywhere from 20 to 30 yards on fly sweeps. And the running back only ran for 53 yards. So the biggest stat that I have that I'm concerned about in the running game is what's the true running back carry the football. That's the guy we're trying to stop. The guy that's going to get the ball from the quarterback's hands and his hands on an in-between the tackle basis. And so I was happy with our run fits from that standpoint. The thing that I was disappointed in was the scramble yardage and the ability for the quarterback to keep plays alive. I think in a lot of first game situations, when you are rushing for the first time in a live full-time situation against a quarterback like that, it's a field type thing, and that was very much a concern of mine going into the game, was keeping our rush lanes consistent. And I think you probably heard me mention that, the rush lanes with the quarterback, and he was able to move around and get out, and that's where some of the bulk of the rushing yards came, was from him. And then the explosive plays in the passing game, third and long, giving up a touchdown pass, backed up, giving up a long touchdown pass. There's probably 175 to 220 yards we just talked about. So, there was just like any game. There's things you were happy with in that game, and there's things within the game that you got to get cleaned up and get better at. But we're just happy to get a win and give Fresno State a lot of credit. Thought they had a really good game plan, and Coach Tedford's teams are always very well coached.
It looked like
And they
you
play
guys
hard.
hit kind of decent lanes, but they didn't maybe exactly break down or make the final finish.
We felt like that when we looked at the tape and diagnosed the quarterback once he got in his launch point before he moved and where we were at with our rush, that maybe we could have gotten at least five more sacks. We didn't. They did a good job extending the plays, and we wish we would have made them. And we just got to do a better job of locating the quarterback in the pocket, take the blinders off as we do rush, and anticipating his potential possibility of stepping up. And that's the hardest thing, I think, for defensive linemen, whether you're rushing interior or on the outside, is keeping the quarterback in your sights as you do rush. Take the blinders off, press the pocket, see him step up, and then come off blocks and try to get a sack instead of focusing on just beating your one-on-one matchup.
What's the philosophy with the defensive line rotation, especially in series, one step to the next?
Yeah, we have a plan in place. It's going to be different every single game. I like the way that it worked out this past game. They kept us fresh, particularly with the number of snaps we ended up playing in the second half. You saw waves of guys go out there, like I mentioned before the game, and I was happy with the way those guys came in and spelled people, and I think we'll continue to do that.
What's the communication aspect of perfecting that and getting those line changes executed right?
You talking with the rush? Or
just guys coming in and out?
Oh, we go through it. I mean, we work on it a lot. It's something that since the day the season ended last year that we had to do better. And believe me, we talked a lot about it as a staff. We've worked a lot on the field and in meetings with the substitution. And it's just part of our daily checklist as a staff and with the players.
Did Drake prove anything to you, just looking back at his performance on film?
Yeah, I'm glad as a USC Trojan he proved that for sure.
Real quick, I know I'm a little late to the party. Just having to do all this at the same time. Just tell me any special challenges about this week's schedule that you guys are facing.
Right. Well, it's a very much a pro style type offense, which is different than we played, all spring and all fall camp and in the first game. So there's a lot of elements that will be new from an eye control standpoint. Stanford uses a lot of different personnel groupings. One fullback, two tight ends. One fullback, one tight end, three wide receivers, three tight ends. There's a lot of different things. So the biggest challenge we have is not only the personnel matchups and the formations, but just getting a feel for how they execute their plays.
To have the guys you do rushing off the edge, and then you're going up in a game against, Stanford obviously is without their left tackle. He's starting a true freshman there. Do you expect that they're going to try to mitigate that with adding extra blockers or do something to mitigate that?
They have a very well-rounded scheme in terms of what they like to do in the run and in pass protection. So when you look at their offense, there's always, not always, but a lot of times there's a tight end on that left side with that tackle in the running game that stays in and helps in the running game and blocks and then helps in pass protection as well. So they don't always leave whoever the left tackle is out on island. So I'm sure they'll have a plan together and expecting a good challenge for us Saturday night.